Hi, in this video, we'll talk about pricing your artwork using a different method to the formula that I showed you in the previous video. And in this one, I want to talk about using comparables or comps or benchmarking. So you've probably heard the word comps often in real estate, where people are looking at comparable properties that have sold that can help the realtor price your property if you were going to offer it up for sale. And this is something you can also do with your artwork. So we're going to look at artists who create similar work to yours and are at a similar stage in their journey, in their art career. So you want to make a list of artists who you probably already follow, whether it's on Instagram, Facebook, or somewhere else. And then you can head over to have a look at their website. And if they have a web shop, you'll be able to see their prices. So this is something that you can do quite easily, and I would suggest you do it from, about 8 to 10 people at least, because you really want to have a good spectrum and a range. And we're looking at artists that are at a similar stage in their career as you. This is really important because as an artist's career progresses, as they perhaps win awards, get more solo shows, maybe they have more media coverage, they start showing with galleries, they perhaps start showing internationally. All these things are good reasons that an artist will raise their price. So we want to look at somebody that is pretty close to where you are in your journey. So maybe they're a few steps ahead. Maybe they have had a solo show. Maybe they've done a bunch of group shows and you've done a bunch of group shows as well. Maybe some of the places they've done are a bit more high profile than yours. That's okay, right? Because all these kind of give us hints at where you could go and where you'd be able to submit for their open calls or anything like that. But trying to find people who are at a pretty similar stage in their career through their visibility, their brand positioning, like what sort of collaborations have they done? Are those sorts of collaborations similar to things that you've done? Perhaps, or not necessarily the number of shows, but the sorts of shows they've had. Like I said, group shows, solo shows, have they curated exhibitions? The media coverage they may have had, or you've had. All these things would affect the pricing, or at least their brand position, let's say, and that is one of the things that can affect the pricing. So look at people who have perhaps been in the same magazines that you've been in, the same publications, perhaps they've been on podcasts that you've been on, and they would be good people to create your comps against. So we're going to benchmark against, like, the other people at that similar stage that make similar work to you. So let's say you're an abstract painter, then you probably do want to be looking at other abstract painters. You want to be looking at the work that they do in the similar dimensions that you do as well. So those would really be a really good starting point to create another way of arriving at a price for your own work. We're looking at, so I said, the artist. Go ahead and have a look at their website, look at the shop area, and you might be able to see work that is sold. You'd be able to see on social media actually if they're doing shout outs about work that is recently sold. You can go through the grid or through their reels or something like that. And then what sort of exposure they've had, because if they've had a ton of exposure, well, then they are going to be able to probably charge more because there probably is more demand for them because they are more known than you. So, you need to be looking at somebody that has that similar sort of exposure that you have as well. And I think sometimes when you're doing this research, it might also give you ideas for places that you might want to submit your art, opportunities that you want to apply for. Maybe they only come around once a year, but they weren't on your radar. But now, you can make a note to, apply to that place next year or when submissions open again. So finding the prices for artists that are comparable to yourself, particularly their career point, as I can't iterate enough, that is really what you want to be looking for. And then that should help you kind of have a bit of a range. It'll usually be a range, and within that, that's where you want to find where you are most comfortable. Within that, it might be like a couple of $100 or something, right? You can find your most sort of sweet spot there for you to be able to price your work that is of a similar genre, it is of a similar discipline, similar materials, all that sort of thing. And then, as we said, the artist brand there as well. So I hope you found that helpful, and I'd be grateful if you subscribed.